I don't think people understand how medical progress can hide new dangers. We live in an age of medical miracles. We've eradicated diseases that once decimated populations, and we can perform surgeries that would have been considered science fiction a century ago. Life expectancy has soared. But this incredible progress has created a paradox. It's like we're so focused on the finish line, how long we can live, that we've stopped paying attention to the quality of the race itself. We're living longer, yes, but are we living better? A quiet, creeping crisis is unfolding, one that isn't caused by a novel virus, but by the very environment we've built around ourselves. If this resonates, please like and subscribe. It's not just about treatment, it's about the system. It's about the world we wake up in every day. The problem is that our healthcare system was designed for a different era, an era of acute injuries and infectious diseases. It's a system of reaction, of fixing what's broken. But the biggest threats to our health today aren't sudden. They are slow, cumulative, and deeply embedded in our daily lives. They are the invisible currents pulling us toward illness. Let me explain. To understand why we're getting sicker despite our advanced medicine, we have to look past the emergency room and into the fabric of modern life. We need to investigate the hidden drivers of disease that operate silently, day in and day out. First, let's talk about our environment. We are the first generations to live our entire lives saturated in a chemical soup. Industrial pollution fills the air with particulates that penetrate deep into our lungs and bloodstream, triggering inflammation. But it goes further. Microplastics are now found in our water, our food, and even in human blood and lung tissue. Our soil is often depleted of essential nutrients and treated with pesticides that find their way onto our plates. This constant, low-level exposure to toxins places a tremendous burden on our body's detoxification systems, a burden we were never evolved to handle. Next is our food supply. The rise of ultra-processed food has been a disaster for public health. These aren't just foods with added sugar or salt. They are industrial formulations of fats, starches, and chemical additives engineered to be hyperpalatable and shelf-stable. They are stripped of fiber and micronutrients, and they disrupt the delicate ecosystem of our gut microbiome, which we now know is fundamental to our immune system and even our mental health. We've traded nourishment for convenience, and the cost is a silent epidemic of metabolic dysfunction. Then there's our work. For the first time in human history, the majority of us spend our days sitting down. Our bodies were designed for movement. Sedentary jobs, long commutes, and screen-based leisure have turned us into a society of static observers. This lack of physical activity contributes directly to weight gain, muscle loss, and poor circulation. But it also affects us on a cellular level, impairing our insulin sensitivity and increasing systemic inflammation. We are literally sitting ourselves into a state of ill health. And finally, there is the relentless hum of chronic stress. Our nervous systems are perpetually activated. The 24-hour news cycle, the endless notifications on our phones, financial pressures, and social isolation create a state of low-grade, persistent fight or flight. This isn't the acute stress our ancestors faced, like escaping a predator. It's a marathon of anxiety that never ends. This constant flood of stress hormones like cortisol dysregulates our immune system, disrupts our sleep, and directly contributes to a host of modern illnesses, from heart disease to depression. These four drivers, pollution, processed food, sedentary living, and chronic stress, are the root causes. The proof is in the data. The consequences of these hidden drivers aren't theoretical. They are written in the health statistics of nations around the world. Let's look at chronic diseases. Take type 2 diabetes. Once considered a disease of old age, it's now being diagnosed in children. Rates have more than doubled in the last 2 decades. This isn't a failure of individual willpower. It's a predictable outcome of an environment saturated with processed foods and sedentary lifestyles. Or consider autoimmune disorders, conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, and multiple sclerosis, where the body's own immune system turns against itself. These diseases are skyrocketing, particularly in developed nations. Scientists believe this is linked to the hygiene hypothesis. but also to the profound changes in our gut microbiome, driven by our modern diet and overuse of antibiotics, and the constant inflammatory signals from our environment. For more insights, please like and subscribe, and perhaps most alarmingly, look at our mental health. Rates of anxiety, depression, and other mood disorders are at an all-time high, especially among adolescents and young adults. While we've made progress in reducing stigma, we are failing to address the underlying causes: the social isolation, the chronic stress of the digital age, and the physiological impact of poor diet and inflammation on the brain. These are not separate issues. They are interconnected symptoms of a society that is, in many ways, at odds with our own biology. So why isn't our multi-trillion-dollar healthcare system stopping this? Because the system itself has critical flaws. First, its incentives are misaligned. Hospitals and pharmaceutical companies profit from treatment, not prevention. A patient with managed diabetes is a lifelong customer. A person who prevents diabetes through lifestyle changes generates no revenue. The economic model of healthcare is fundamentally reactive. It's a sick care system, not a true healthcare system. Second, we have an over-reliance on pharmaceutical interventions that often just mask symptoms. A prime example is the overuse of antibiotics. While life-saving for bacterial infections, they've been prescribed indiscriminately for decades, decimating our collective gut health and contributing to antibiotic resistance. Similarly, we are quick to prescribe a pill for high blood pressure or high cholesterol without adequately addressing the diet and stress that caused them in the first place. Third, our care is fragmented. You see a cardiologist for your heart, a gastroenterologist for your gut, and a psychiatrist for your mind, but rarely do these specialists communicate. They treat organs, not the whole person. This siloed approach completely misses the interconnected nature of chronic disease, where inflammation in the gut can manifest as skin problems, joint pain, or even depression. Prevention becomes an afterthought because no single part of the system is responsible for the whole. Let's make this real. Consider Mark, a 45-year-old office manager. He has a long commute, a high-pressure job, and grabs fast food for lunch because it's quick. He's tired, stressed, and has been slowly gaining weight for years. He goes for a checkup and is diagnosed with high blood pressure and prediabetes. The system's response? A prescription for blood pressure medication and a generic pamphlet on diet. The root causes, his chronic stress, his sedentary job, his reliance on processed food, are never truly addressed. Mark is now a managed patient, a statistic in the rising tide of chronic disease. Or take Sarah, a 28-year-old graphic designer who develops severe eczema and debilitating fatigue. She sees a dermatologist who prescribes steroid creams. When she develops digestive issues, she sees a gastroenterologist. For her growing anxiety about her health, she's referred to a therapist. Each specialist treats their piece of the puzzle, but no one connects the dots to investigate a potential underlying autoimmune response triggered by stress and gut dysbiosis. Sarah is left to navigate a confusing and disjointed system, feeling unheard and untreated as a whole person. These stories aren't exceptions, they are the norm. So, what's the solution? It's not to abandon our powerful modern medicine, but to rebalance our approach. The fix is to make prevention the central, organizing principle of our entire healthcare system and our society. This isn't just about telling people to eat better and exercise more. It's a fundamental redesign. First, we must invest massively in public health measures that create healthy environments. This means policies that ensure clean air and clean water. It means redesigning our cities to be walkable, with accessible green spaces. It means transforming our food systems to prioritize access to affordable, healthy, whole foods for every community, not just the wealthy. And it means integrating mental health support into our schools, workplaces, and community centers, making it as normal as a dental checkup. These are not radical ideas, they are the basic building blocks of a healthy society. Second, we need to redesign clinical care to focus on lifestyle and early detection. Imagine a healthcare system where doctors are trained and compensated for spending time on nutrition, stress management, and sleep hygiene. Where health coaches are an integral part of the care team. where advanced screening, not just for cancer, but for inflammatory markers, nutrient deficiencies, and metabolic health, is routine. This is a shift from 15-minute appointments that end with a prescription to a collaborative partnership focused on creating and sustaining health over a lifetime. So, how do we get there? The path forward requires action on two fronts: individual choices and systemic change. They are two sides of the same coin. On an individual level, we can start today. We can prioritize sleep. We can spend more time in nature. We can cook one more meal at home each week using whole ingredients. We can practice mindfulness or deep breathing for just 5 minutes a day to manage stress. We can choose to walk instead of drive when possible. These small, consistent actions create a powerful ripple effect on our personal health. If you're with us, like and subscribe. But individual action alone is not enough. We can't out-willpower a toxic environment. That's where systemic policy action comes in. We need to demand that our elected officials prioritize public health. This means advocating for stricter environmental regulations. It means supporting subsidies for regenerative farming, not for corn syrup. It means calling for zoning laws that mandate green spaces and safe bike lanes. It means demanding that insurance companies cover preventive care and lifestyle interventions. We must use our voices and our votes to build a world where the healthy choice is the easy choice. Let's be clear, medicine is powerful. The ability to mend a broken bone, stop a heart attack, or remove a tumor is a gift. We should be incredibly grateful for the advances in acute care. But we have become victims of that success, believing that a pill or a procedure can save us from the consequences of our environment and lifestyles. Without fundamental societal change, we will remain trapped in a cycle of sickness. We'll keep treating the symptoms, the diabetes, the heart disease, the depression, instead of stopping the causes at their source. We will continue to spend more and more on healthcare, only to become less and less healthy as a population. The paradox will deepen. This is a complex problem, but the path forward is clear. It begins with understanding. It continues with action, both personal and collective. It requires us to demand more from our food systems, our employers, our governments, and our healthcare providers. It requires us to build a culture that values health, not just the treatment of disease. Want to follow up on concrete steps you can take, starting today, to build resilience against these modern dangers? Want more? Like and subscribe for follow-ups. Say yes in the comments, and please like and subscribe.